Hey everyone, Ian May here with the Wired for More ADHD and Self Mastery podcast. I have my good friend Mike Sullivan on the line. As usual, I get all of my friends live on LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn. That's where I meet and hang out with other self-respecting adults, whether they're self-respecting or not. I don't know why I threw that in there, but Mike and I connected just one from our love of fitness, our love of being able to show off that we are the arguably toughest dads on our block. But what I love about Mike's story is the fact that it comes from some ugliness, right? I think what's beautiful about it is you have some trophies and accolades to say that, hey, there's some things that are worthy of celebration, but they're born out of deep struggle, kind of being in a dark place and recognizing of like, hey, what does it look like when you really need to take on life's challenges and show up differently? And Mike, I'm excited for this conversation. Some of it's going to be a little bit sappy, some of it's going to be a little silly, but also we're recording this on the Thursday leading into Father's Day. And I think it's worthy just to be able to celebrate you. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day to you, man. You got the hat and it's personalized. I'm very, very jealous. I'm going to screenshot this right now and send it to my wife and say, that's the gift that I want.
Yeah. Make sure to say Ian's wife loves me more than you. So
I'm not going to go there. That will not make
yeah, it's not a competition, but it is. So, Mike, I mean, from even just that introduction of where you got your start, I'd love to hear even just moments that you've talked about of trying to appear to have it all together. And when all of a sudden, hey, I don't have the energy to try to keep up appearances anymore. Tell me what that was like for you.
Yeah. I mean, just my story, I'm very public about it on LinkedIn. And I'm still in corporate. I'm still a W-2 active quota carrier. And I went through a pretty intense transformation. I'm 49 years old. I know I don't look it. The gray hair might lead you otherwise to believe. But when I was about 39, I went through a pretty rapid transformation. I hit a rock bottom in my life. So I had massive debt. I was unemployed. And my daughter was diagnosed with autism. And I had all this adversity coming at me at once. And it caused me to take an honest look in the mirror and ask myself, how can I turn this around? I had a wife and 3 kids at home. The reason I had debt is because I made stupid decisions. I drifted from job to job. I got fired from my first sales job. A company that I worked for went under and couldn't pay us on time. And I was telling my wife, no, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then I would go and take like a SoFi personal loan for $40K and not tell her, just to put food on the table. So ton of guilt, ton of shame went along with that. Like I couldn't provide for my family on my own. And I mean, extremely painful. I'm sitting at my desk. I was looking out this window. A car just went by and it went through my head like, if that truck hit me, could that be an answer? Because my wife could cash the life insurance policy. Like that's the crap that was going through my head, a very painful time. And I got through that because I started to go to war with the voice in my head that tell me I wasn't good enough, wasn't smart enough. 39 years old, hadn't done shit up until that point in my career, had no evidence to build confidence from. That's where I fell in love with the gym. Because as you know, when you keep the promises you make to yourself, you get after it in the gym, it builds confidence. When you look good naked in the mirror, you start to feel good and develop confidence. So that's what I had to go on. That's where I fell in love with the gym.
Yeah, I don't want to say we'll prove it because we don't have evidence. The rest of us don't have evidence that you look good naked in the gym. But the other part of it, though, that you even just talked about, of what do you do when you don't have evidence yet? Like, where do you start? And it's kind of cool just because of the fact that the gym is actually a pretty good equalizer. And as much as you and I joke around about being big, kind of broy meatheads, there is some beauty of like, hey, this is what it's like to sit under some heavy weight and just cry this out. Like, we're just going to feel everything super deeply. And the beauty of that style of training is that you'll start to look and feel better.
Yes.
And even in our conversations that we've had, I've poured over and obsessed about the neuroscience to prove my intelligence because I'm insecure about it.
Which is wild because you know more about the brain than any of the neuroscientists on LinkedIn. Like you're up there with like Huberman level in my mind, man.
Yeah, my goal is to be like if Alex Huberman and Alex Hormozy had a baby, I would be their love child, their shameful love child between the two of them. But to your point though, of like, hey, okay, I can't fix all these problems, but I can at least prepare my nervous system to take on bigger challenges. Like, that's a worthy goal. Like there's worthiness in that alone. But one of the things that resonated with me about your story is when you start getting to the point where I'm pulling out loans. For me, it was I used my HELOC for my house to arbitrage money, and all of a sudden that was making me a 10% return, and oh, it's amazing. And the bank that was affording me that 10% return completely went under, and then all of a sudden interest rates go up, and now it's costing me 10% month over month instead of giving me 10%. So it was like a $2,000 swing that now all of a sudden I'm losing 2,000 instead of and all the while just being like, hey, are you good? Hey, yeah, good, cool. But just even recognizing of, hey, I didn't actually have a lot of healthy people surrounding me that I could even say, hey, I'm suffering a little bit. Hey, I'm starting to look at oncoming traffic with a little bit more encouragement to participate on their side of the road. And that's a terrifying thing, to be able to look in the mirror and being like, I don't like what I see. And those intrusive thoughts, like, they're pretty powerful. You chose to go to war with them, right? And so for you, visceral intensity was a pretty powerful and useful tool. I kind of went the opposite of, I actually started getting just really gentle and loving to those thoughts. Hey, you're trying to keep me safe. I love you, but you're just not serving me very well. Because I'm very much like you, knuckle dragging, pounding my chest. But my nervous system was like, hey, we tried that. Like we've done the aggro thing and it's not working for us. And so I couldn't, like, I didn't have that in the tank anymore. And so I think what's even cool of being able to recognize of, like, you use what you have. And it's not about one of our ways of strategies being better than the other. Like, use what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about it, like, you started somewhere. You started in the gym, but when did you start seeing some changes in, I believe that I can turn this ship around? And even starting to get creative outside of finding new ways to take out loans and so on. Like, where did that change happen for you?
Yeah, it was my daughter's diagnosis was the catalyst, because it was no longer about me and my fragile little ego I was trying to protect, for decades. I was just frankly afraid to fail, afraid to look stupid, and the years piled up. And when she was diagnosed, it was just like, F this, I have to figure out a way. It's not about me. And I definitely went through some surrendering, ended up obviously confiding in my wife, my best friend, James, my brother from another mother. I would confide in him and he would say, brother, let me lend you some dough. And I'd be like, nope, absolutely not. As a man, I'm going to figure this out on my own, whether I fail or whether I don't fail. But just having a friend, a brother, just knowing someone was there to listen and actually offer help was really important. So for those who are like in depression and really struggling, definitely having someone to talk to and confide in, you want to do that. But when I first started seeing evidence, I needed to make a lot of money really fast to get out of debt. And I knew enterprise sales was a way to do that. So I started networking with mentors, and they put the company that I work for today, Trinetics, in my ear. And I was sitting down at my old job. I wasn't making a ton of money, just scraping by. I had these loans, but it was like an hourglass of cash and it was running out. I just could feel the weight. Maybe you felt this before. It's just like a weight that you can't get off your friggin' back. You wake up, you feel it. You go to bed, you feel it. It absolutely sucks. So I was preparing for this demo and I was like, F this. Went to the website of TriNetX, sent a cold DM to the chief commercial officer. He responded and brought me in for an interview. And because I was listening to the right podcasts, I was looking for strength because I felt like a wimp because I was afraid to take risks and bet on myself. So I was listening to like Jocko, all his stuff, right? I was trying to toughen up. And it worked for me at that time. So I went into that interview with confidence and I got the job and it changed my life. Enterprise sales was the vehicle to sell my way out of the hole that I was in. And I don't think I would have taken that risk if it wasn't for all that pain. I debate all the time, and someone asked me once before, like, could you have had this transformation without all that pain? And I'm like, I don't think so. Because human nature, a lot of us want to stay. I know you'll debate me on this. Hear me out.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm actually just disagreeing with the nature of the question.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Why are you trying to avoid pain? Like,
yeah. I
The
think it's
process
healthy.
is the process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like, would you change anything about what you experienced if it
No,
meant you couldn't have what you have now? And then, yeah,
yeah.
that's your
Like
answer.
like
So
you said in the intro, like you said in the intro, like fear and the stuff we go through, I don't regret any of it. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I'm grateful my daughter the way she is. She has changed my life. I don't even know who I was before her, right? And my daughter's nonverbal. She's 13. She communicates with an iPad. So she's going to live with us forever. Every day can be a challenge, but I've met some incredible people on LinkedIn. She's just taught me to have perspective, stay extremely grounded, and has taught me everything I need to know about life from being her dad. And the pain that I went through, I needed it to transform. And yeah, it was about silencing the inner critic, going to war against my limiting beliefs. Then they never leave us, right, Ian? Like, to me, I use the metaphor like our fear, uncertainty, and doubt is always with us. To me, like, it's if you're driving a car, you don't want your fear and your doubts like in the car with you, touching the radio, the thermostat, taking the wheel. You want them in the goddamn trunk, wrapped up. You're taking them where you want to go. Like, you're driving the car. Those things will always be with us. They're not going anywhere. We're all human, you know. But that's the way I think about it. I hope I answered your question. Just went on a tangent on a number of
what's
things.
funny is I'm so immersed in your story, I forgot the question I asked.
Maybe that was a segue into the dad topic I threw in.
Well, and I think that is an important one because a lot of people will say, my children are my why. I would die for them. It's just like, but how are you living for them? Right? Okay, great. That's a super warm, fuzzy question. But the answer really is of, hey, I have decided my daughter needs me here for as long as I can be here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not everyone's going to understand what it means to have a nonverbal autism, like on the spectrum, type 3 nonverbal. I'm not going to understand that. I'm not going to understand what that's like. And we could try to explain it, but you aren't going to understand the visceral experience of what it's like to have a screaming child who's just trying to be heard and understood, who doesn't know how to communicate it, who isn't really able to tell you how much they love and care for you verbally. You just have to trust that, like, you're showing up and doing the right things, that someday you might get to experience some of that, a glimpse of it. And so the fact of, like, hey, the thing that's keeping me alive right now is I want to live as long as possible, which means I need to be as healthy as possible, spiritually, emotionally, physically, so that I can continue to care for this person so she can have a long and fruitful life.
Can we pause? I got to go get a box of tissues.
No, let's cry this
Yeah, yeah.
out just
I love
live.
this.
Let's
I
do
love
that.
going deep, man. But it's tough for me to. I've isolated. I don't do it as much anymore, but I isolated for a long, long time. Didn't want to be around other parents who didn't have kids with challenges because I mean, you can't even imagine how scary it is and how painful it is. And we're 10 years in, so I've had to fight the school system in my town with lawyers, remortgage my house because I was like, this is my daughter. I will kill anything in my way to get her what she needs. Like, when you have a daughter, you know how that is, right?
Yeah, I have two, and I'm
Yeah,
rocking my girl dad hat.
yeah.
What's funny is that I have a lot of friends who are like dog dads, that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, I love my dog like it's a kid. It's like, I have visualized murdering my dog in cold blood because she put too much teeth on my child once.
Yeah.
And I had to take ownership. You talk about Jocko Willink. I had to take ownership of the fact of, like, I haven't retrained my dog how to treat this new human around my wife, because my dog was very protective of my wife. And anyways, I've never had the same thought about my child as I am
Yeah.
of, like, looking at the dog, just kind of like laughing of, like, I will end you.
Yeah.
You won't know
Yeah.
what that's like until you have
Right.
a child of your own.
Yeah.
And I don't need to explain it to you. And you'll probably, commit me to the authorities and let them know I'm potentially abusing my dog.
We got Michael
But
Vick over here. Yeah.
I should say I have a healthy respect for my dog. She's a boxer pit mix. She's buffer
How did I
than
know
I
you had a
am.
pit bull, Ian? How did I know
I
you?
know, I know. It's on brand for sure. But so the thing I think that's really beautiful is being able to recognize of, okay, I use this intensity to really take a ton of ownership and agency. And yeah, maybe there's some fake it till you make it, but then, hey, I'm willing to take action off of that belief. And I think there's some beauty in the fact of, I don't really care how you got there. Like, call it manifestation, call it just like you know, intense self belief. But hey, I know that this might be my last chance to be able to take care of the things I need to take care of. Hey, I'm going to go move towards the highest percentage likelihood of me making good money in a very short amount of time. Hey, who's got some potential businesses that are willing to take a bet on kind of a nobody? We are. Hey, we can teach you skills. We are actually just hoping to hire some people with some tenacity. What does that look like for you? Well, let me talk to you about tenaciousness.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. When I had that interview, um, and I'm still friends with my chief commercial officer, my VP of sales. We like, one's a Philly guy. We text about Patriots and Eagles, and another one's a Giants guy. And yeah, they saw like a fire in my soul when I was in that room. And they were like, I think I even said in the interview, like, I will run through a brick wall to hit my number. There is no stopping me because, and I even opened up. I was like, my daughter has struggles and I don't have, failure is not an option for me. And they were like, okay. In their mind, they probably were like, let's bet on a person who is not hungry, but starving. Like, Dwayne Johnson, are you hungry for success or are you starving? I was starving for success and I joined at the right time and everything worked out. And don't get me wrong, some of it was manifestation, but you do all the mindset speak out there. Like, you have to back it up with friggin' work.
I mean, three months later, you could have crumbled and they could have fired you, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They could have been totally willing to like, well, hey, we've got 90 days to onboard this guy, to train him the skills that are necessary. And in 90 days, we'll have data to say, is he showing up and doing the thing that he said, or was that all talk? And yeah, there are a lot of people out there who are all talk. All of the AI bots that are out there, we all know what talk looks like, right? Being all talk. We all know what it looks like now. Yeah. We have, and it's been automated, and we've been seeing it in mass. But so that's 10 years later now, right? Since that kind of huge aha moment, run through brick walls. Now you've run through a few. Like, now you have some trophies and accolades to show for it. If you don't mind me sharing, you've espoused on the internet of, in the last 10 years, you've generated $70 million of revenue for companies, which I think for a lot of people who struggle when it comes to knowing how to make money is they don't really know the value of the work that they create. And that by itself, if you're sitting here right now struggling to figure out how to make money, understand the value of what you generate. Period. That's it. Like, go out of your way to understand that. And that's something that I've had to, in my own coaching practices, of stop talking about fuzzy outcomes, get very explicit with, here's the outcome we're going to go deliver. Here's the process that we're going to use. But here's the measure of, like, you tell me, if I regain you 10 to 15 hours lost per week, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to generate with that? Mm-hmm. What's that worth to you? It's worth this. Is it worth 10x of this? If I can generate 10x in value of this amount that I'm charging you, like, is that worth it to you? Some people, they're like, actually, no, I can't generate that much value out of that extra time, even if you could give me 10, 15 hours extra week. But now, Mike, you're kind of unstoppable at this point, that even if TriNetX was just kind of like, hey, you're not really delivering as much as we like, whatever reasons they have, you could still go to another company and be able to say, I'm willing to run through brick walls, and here's a couple of the brick walls that I've run through that I'm capable of generating a business inside of 10 years, $70 million. What's that worth to you? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd say a good number of companies are probably lining up, waiting for you to be a free agent, right? We're talking sports analogies now.
Yeah. The reason I talk about, I rarely will talk about like closing seven. The reason I bring up 70 million that I've closed at this company is not at all to pound my chest and to throw trophies around, although there's nothing wrong with that. The reason I do it is to show people, here's where I was. Like, Goggins, he talks, yeah, sure, he's unstoppable. He does these crazy races, but he talks, if you pay attention to his story, it's nuts where he was. So I share where I got to and where I am now, and also like where I was, I was at rock bottom, right? Personally, emotionally, financially, I mean, I was in a world of hurt, and I've told this story at a conference last October, the Sales Success Summit. Scott Ingram's plugging his conference for him. You're welcome, Scott.
I
And
literally just looked at popping into that this fall
it
because it's
is,
here in Austin. So
yeah, it was a group of 60 quota carrying folks like myself. It was just incredible people. Highly recommend it. It was the best thing I've ever attended. Scott asked me to speak. I was the first speaker, and it was a sales summit. I didn't talk about sales one bit. I just talked about my story and how I got out of it in more detail, transforming my identity and putting in the right habits. There's no secret to this stuff. You just have to believe you can get somewhere, show up as the person who's going to get there, and do the friggin' work every single day, and you'll arrive. You don't know if you're going to arrive tomorrow or in 10 years. It's different for everyone. But I told that story and they voted me top speaker. And I was like, I've never spoken before. Like, why do you, people are
for
coming up to
somebody
me.
so incompetent, you're really being celebrated for
Yeah. But I mean, that's
being engaging, encouraging, motivating, all the things.
Yeah. The reason I share that number and what I've done is because I want people to see that anyone can do that, because I had no evidence of getting there based on the previous 20 years. And it wasn't any say, I don't know what MedPIC stands for, Ian. No friggin' idea. I don't know.
It changes every other year. So
Yeah.
they add more silent letters to MedPIC every time.
It wasn't any sales strategy, sales tactic. It was being a human, helping people solve problems. Like you just said, being upfront. Here is the outcome. Here's how we get there. What is it worth it to you? But it was the internal game that I had done. So I was doing all that work on my inner game. I got in the right opportunity vehicle, and then the stars aligned and I took off. But I share that because anyone can do what I've done. Anyone can go through this comeback, this transformation.
One of the things I think we shouldn't overlook is the fact that you first started by seeking out mentors. You briefly brought it up. Hey, I started seeking out sales mentors, people who are in the industry, people who know what companies are kind of like, hey, there's some bubbling about this TriNet X company. Like, hey, it might be a pretty big hit. Like, it's probably worth you trying to figure out how to get your foot in the door there. Even that of go get a mentor, go have a board of directors within your life, a bunch of people who are like, hey, I see that you're hungry and you know what, I want to help you. More people want to help you than you realize, right?
So,
and you heard it from your friend who's willing to throw a couple bucks at you. You heard it from these mentors who are willing to direct you to some places to potentially increase your likelihood of success. I wouldn't say that you got lucky, because of the fact of you believed that there was potential out there. There's money to be made, and you're willing to take some action off of that. What I don't like about manifestation for the majority of people who do it is they usually have like very, very clear outcomes and timelines that they're trying to drive things at. And that's the part where we can get into the like, when you start obsessing about outcomes, that is honestly where you will likely see the biggest failure. Whereas of like, start with who you are in the pursuit of those outcomes. Like, focus on that, hyper obsess about that. And for me, very personally, like, this is when my wife and I were going through our worst time. And you talk about your low point. Like, for me, my addictions wasn't just like going and getting into crazy amounts of debt. Like, I was infidelity, porn addiction, cyber sex addiction, like all the things you can imagine. And so when she found out about all of that, she was still in this weird middle ground of deciding whether or not she was going to make space for us to try to work on our marriage to reconcile. I started praying for my wife's future husband. I had this vision that I was on the outside looking in. My wife was sitting at the kitchen table, and this other man was loving on her, being celebrated as the man of the house, loving husband, amazing father to my kid. At the time that I had this dream, there was only one kid. And I was on the outside looking and begging to have a seat at the table. And I just started praying for that man. And then the beautiful part about that whole vision was like inevitably of, hey, you could be that man. Hey, maybe you are that man already. You just don't have the skills yet. What does that man do? How does he treat his wife? How does he behave? What does he believe? How does he act and operate? What lifestyle habits does he have? And obsessing about the details of the identity of that man who is deeply loved and deeply celebrated as spiritual, emotional leader in the family. And yeah, it came from the humble place of humble yourself, seek help, ask for help. Start to try to piecemeal of like, what are other people doing that I'm not doing? What do they seem to get that I don't get? And then all of a sudden you start realizing of like, okay, yeah, I am in $60,000 worth of debt right now. That was the number that I had hit. What is it going to have to look like for us to brown bag for a bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it going to look like for us to have to get rid of some of our creature comforts? Like, what is it going to look like for entertainment to look a little cheaper than it used to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Vacations not being as exciting as they used to be.
Yeah. 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 It takes a lot of courage to share that, man. I appreciate it. It takes a lot of courage to share your story. And, it takes a lot of courage to share my story. And I think the more that we do that and the more we're vulnerable on LinkedIn, or even just not forget social media, just with our closest friendships, relationships, it's life changing. Like you've said it to me and others have said it to me, like the message is medicine. What you share, the way you show up on LinkedIn, it's inspiring a ton of people to, you know, own their story, face their inadequacies, face the challenges they're going with. You inspire me the way you show up and the way you share your story. So, man, that's deep. It's powerful to share that. So,
yeah. Well, Mike, what I love about your story is, and the beauty of all of it, like you and I are both coaches, like, and there's a lot of people that I've even had on this that when I would connect with them on LinkedIn, they were like, "Hey, actually, I think we're competitors." And the funny thing is like you just laugh of like, do we both serve a similar community? Absolutely, yes. Like they were a sales coach or they coach sales reps, and some of my clients are sales reps. But the beauty is of like, there's enough people who need help that we can both share some space. Like,
yeah.
and when you feel called to the work, it's not competition at that point. It's like we're both just, there are people who are attracted to your story that you are capable of helping right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm probably not. Right. And that's the part where like that's the beauty of all of it, of getting to experience hearing your story, both of ours kind of being reflected back at each other of like, oh yeah, hey, how much crazy weird stuff did you do to try to get yourself out of debt? Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah,
Brown
it
bag.
got
We were
weird.
brown bagging it, but geez, now I'm looking back. I want to brown bag it now because my younger daughter is in a competitive dance school and all my commission checks go to the dance school. So I'm like, I'm going to talk to my wife about the brown bagging actually later. You put that bug in my ear. She's not going to like it very much, but
I've
it's
got some
before
strategies.
Father's Day, so I can't get yelled at too much. We're a couple of days out before
This is
Father's Day.
definitely a Sunday evening conversation to
Yeah.
have on Father's Day for sure. Like for Father's Day, this is what I would like. Everybody's going to start pulling their own weight. Hey, if you want to swap strategies though, so my daughter, I have started to work with her on, not that we can't afford this, but like how can we make this work? And I have found that if you find a golf course that has, there's always golf courses that have like a split hole where like hole 12 is right next to the road and you have to cross the road to get to hole 13. That's technically public property right next to that spot. So you post up your lemonade stand, your cookie
Yeah.
stand, your brownie stand. That's where you post up. And I kid you not, your child will
Brilliant.
make $100 in less than an hour.
Really
And I
is.
don't know if we're genuinely teaching them the value of money because they're going to think one brownie is worth $20.
Right. Exactly.
But you'd be surprised at what kind of money you can be made, because like, hey, you're solving a problem for richer, higher class people who are willing to throw 20 and $30 at a 10-year-old who's grinding, who's learning to mobilize some energy. And my daughter's, she's paid for her own roller skates because that's her recent obsession. And all right, let's figure out how this works.
That's awesome.
Like 100%, just you're not going to show up at my golf course because then we are in competition.
Right.
And then we will find out.
Well, that's great. Those values you're instilling in her by doing that those are awesome. I will tell you, my daughter is not doing that, but she's through her dance that she's a part of. It's instilled in her, like, and she's got like Jocko type discipline. She's like, "Dad, are you getting up at 5 tomorrow? Will you wake me up? I'm behind on my homework." I'm like, what am I creating here? So
yeah,
yeah,
what a savage. I think there's like good and bad in that too, right? Of just being able to recognize of like, hey, why are we working hard? Because it's not because of this endless pursuit. Like, what is it about the homework that you're motivated by? Because in all seriousness, like this is something that my wife and I talk a lot about. We were both raised in public education. We both got degrees, and we kind of have this mindset of looking at college now of, hey, college isn't required in our family. Continued education 100% is. And so there's something where my kids are much younger than yours. Mine are 5 and 2. So we're literally on the precipice of going into public education now.
Yeah.
But being able to even already leaning into like, what about education are we celebrating? And how are we going to go about trying to instill those practices and habits and so on. But yeah, 5 a.m. homework session is it.
Yeah, she's a little beast. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with her.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like, let it
great.
happen, but we'll check in too. We're gonna run an experiment. We're gonna assess her nervous system in 6 months
Yeah,
and see where she's at.
exactly. Yeah,
And honestly, and I think that's a part too of like, hey, right now you're getting to enjoy the fruit of a lot of this work, right? If you're 10 years into it, you're starting to get to the point where now you're realizing, hey, my story is worth sharing, and hey, there are lessons that I've learned that I'm going to go share with other individuals. Like, what has the experience been like for you now, and putting your coach hat on it? Like, okay, you're kind of putting your sales hat off, taking it off for moments of time. Like, what's that experience been now, getting to share that with individuals?
incredible. And I started doing it because there was a whisper. Let me go back actually to my first LinkedIn post about this stuff, which was like 18 months ago. So in, I think it was 2021, 2022, I got like, we've all gotten that biggest commission check we've ever gotten. And it's like, wow, this is really transformational for my life. And I started to get the urge to share my story to help others and so forth. And my first thought was, I don't want my kids to go through the pain and the struggles that I've been through. So how do I get the story out of me to share it with them? I'm starting to think of my son and so forth. But at the same time, the stuff that I went through did get me to where I am. So I don't regret all of it. But, it is, you're a protective dad. You're like, I want to save them the pain, struggles that I've been through. But so I couldn't write my first LinkedIn post. It was like 18 months ago. I was like, I want to share my story. I just felt called to do more than carry a bag, carry a quota. I was like, there's got to be more. I don't know who says that quote, if it's Mel Robbins, but there's got to be more than this. Like, that's what I thought of. Like, there's got to be more. And no complaints. I'm grateful to my company and grateful for the run that I've been on, and I work for a great team. It takes a team, it takes a village to sell these large deals. But I just felt called to do more and to serve. And I know that might sound like, hey, you felt called to serve. Like, yeah, okay, but honestly, like, I felt this whisper inside me saying, tell your story. And it would get louder and louder. And the more I'd put it off, it would get louder and louder. And then it was like yelling in my ear. And that's when I started working with coaches about 18 months ago, like actually paying a coach to help me. And I was like, I got this story. I can't write on LinkedIn. Help me. And they were like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm like, what if I get fired? They're like, you're the top guy. You've been there for 7 years. You're not going to get fired. Write the post. And someone held me a little accountable. It was a little accountability. One of the coaches I worked with, his name's Taylor, and he was like, text me when it's done. He wrote me an email, text me after you write that post. And I was like, what does that mean? Text you. I was like, he got me to do it. That was accountability. So I started to tell the story, and it was, I felt the cringe feelings everyone feels now. But it was just like we build muscles in the gym, like you build your quads, your freakish quads, man. That didn't happen overnight. That was years and years of just putting in the reps. So building the LinkedIn muscle has been fun. And my mindset was like, I'm going to tell my story. It was almost a form of therapy to get this out of me, to tell you the truth, because I had all this in my nervous system locked up, all this scarcity, and it was still in there. The outcomes I achieved, okay, that was great. The internal stuff, I've started to work with a nervous system expert to help, because what got me here, okay, that's good, but what's going to get me where I want to go, which is building a castle around my daughter to protect her, is the vision I have. It's not going to be based on clenching, pressure, urgency. So I'm learning how to operate from a place of alignment and getting on a different frequency. So yeah, the reason I got into coaching was I had to tell the story and get it out of me. My mindset was, I'm going to tell my story on LinkedIn. Let's see who it resonates with. It started to resonate with sellers. Surprise, surprise. That's what I
No
still do.
way.
Yeah. So it's been really fun and really fulfilling. And people have come to me for help with sales, yes, but more so for help with, how did you do this? Because I need the same comeback. I need the same transformation. So I walk them through, honestly, what I did, not not a Tony Robbins course I downloaded, not some course I took and it's like, this is the shit that I did. to get myself out of a world of pain. And if it worked for me, maybe there's a chance it'll work for you. But a lot of folks want help with almost like killing off their old identity
Mm.
and building a new human. That's what I did. Like I killed off my old identity and created a new human. And it's about defining where you want it. To me, it's about where do you want to go? James Clear Atomic Habits 101, like what identity, how do you have to show up? Who is that person that gets to where you want to go? And what are the habits that embody that identity? And then casting the votes every day. Like I'm not a big fan of like specific goal setting. I don't like it really at all. I'm like, yeah, have a direction of where you want to go. But you don't know if if you're gonna zig when you're supposed to zag. Like just it's okay to change that goal the very next day, you know? So it's been great. I love coaching. I get as much out of it, if not more, than my clients do. And it's just super fun, super fulfilling. And just the last thing on this is like, I think for years I was looking for permission to step outside my comfort zone and permission. And I was looking externally for that permission forever. And then I finally realized, well, you just have to give yourself permission.
Yeah.
And
I mean, some things that I even just appreciate about what you've said of I can't share my story yet because there's part of me that still believes I'm going to hit rock bottom again. That I don't deserve this, or I've seen success before, but now it's, you know, or I don't even trust myself to keep this going, whatever the story is. But there's some part of your nervous system that's like, yeah, I can't share this yet. Because what if I start sharing being on this mountaintop peak and then all of a sudden I hit this like extremely low? That honestly resonates with me very deeply. As soon as I gave the middle finger to the corporate world, I spent 2 months saying like, "Oh yeah, well I'm going to take a break. I'm going to, me time." And then inevitably 2 months goes by and I'm crippled with fear to actually start building the business, like actually not just being a coach because I've been a coach already, but growing a coaching business. And the fear of the business failing caused me to continue to not build the business. And it was only until I spent enough time of, hey, what would it look like for me to go back to a corporate job? What would that feel like? What kind of job would I go do? What work would I go do? How could I make that beautiful? Right. And you talk about, hey, I'm not a sales coach. I'm somebody who teaches people to find meaning while in sales. There's a difference. Like that.
yeah, exactly.
There's a difference. But what would it look like for me of going back to a corporate job? Would it be in sales? Maybe. Would it be helping other sellers? Maybe. And so it was beautiful as soon as I got to a point where my nervous system was like, actually, I would celebrate if I had to go back to a corporate job, I would celebrate it. Here's the way that that would feel. And then all of a sudden I started being able to take more effective action on growing my coaching business because now the biggest fear that I had wasn't as visceral and intense anymore. Like it didn't have as much teeth. It's still along for the ride. You talked about this of like, hey, if fear, anxiety, worry, overwhelm, if it's still in the car, can at least make sure that it doesn't have a hand on the wheel. You're allowed to change the song on the radio. You're allowed to change the AC. You're allowed to open the window, but like you touch the wheel and we're going to have words.
Yes.
But for me, like my tactic and strategy is essentially just complete gratitude. I have gratitude every time the backseat driver chirps up.
Mm,
Hey, thanks for reminding me that this thing feels unsafe. Hey, thanks for
yeah.
trying to keep me safe. Thanks for trying to keep me stimulated. Like for me in the ADHD experience, it's those two phrases that I repeat 1,000 times over
Yeah.
because that's what my brain is obsessively trying to do all the time. It's trying to keep me safe and trying to keep me stimulated. And I thank it. And
Yep.
then I redirect it
Yes.
because it's still my hand on the wheel. Like I don't follow it its every whim, but as quickly as I can, I redirect it back to what my goal is or what my North Star is, what the path that I'm on, what identity I'm holding, what is required of me right now. But those are all things that can sound very nebulous. And it's something where oftentimes people need to hear explicitly for them isn't, hey, you need to go work on your diet, exercise, and sleep. It's we're going to visualize going to the grocery store. And I want you to picture and visualize the 5 fruits that you're going to go pick out right now. That's it. Like that's the goal. Well, I mean, blah, blah, blah. Like, what if they don't have the? No. Okay. Thanks, brain, for trying to keep me safe because you're trying to plan 5 steps ahead of how you're going to
Mhm.
prepare all this food. Ooh, okay, my goal of going to the grocery store is picking out 5 different types of fruit, and I'm going to go pick out 5 cuts of meat. And the cuts of meat are a chicken breast, a chicken thigh, salmon, pork tenderloin, and then a ground turkey. And that's it. That's your goal. Well, I don't really know how to cook. No, no, no. Thanks, brain, for trying to keep me safe.
Yeah,
Ooh, like it over and over and over again.
it down.
Repeat. Here's the goal, working backwards from this. Even if you throw out everything that you purchased, the goal of you going to the store is 5 pieces of fruit or 5 types of fruit and 5 cuts of meat. And here they are. That's it. Text me when you're done. And then celebrating them as if it's the marathon, as if it's the big monumental thing. Because for the most part, for them in the immediate moment, it actually feels like that.
Yeah, 100%. One of my first client, he came to me because he wanted more discipline with his day-to-day habits, right? And he didn't know how to get started. And one of the things he was trying to kick was a nicotine habit, right? And he would talk around it like during our calls. He would say, yeah, I want to get healthier and I want to get to the gym. I'm like, well, you don't have to like sling weights, like Ian. You can, what do you like to do? Like, let's start getting active. He's like, oh, I love hockey. And he started to get in the hockey league again, like twice a week. I was like, get started. Don't worry about step 10. Just get your foot on step one of your feet on step 1. But he kept talking around the nicotine thing. Like, I'm like, what is that thing you keep going back to? Like, sounds like there's something there. And then he got into like, yeah, my wife is riding me because I want to keep my nicotine. I'm like, he's starting to build a family. I'm like, is that important to you to reverse that habit? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you're just afraid that you're going to fail once you try. So like you said, don't worry about an abrupt stop. Just, can you cut it down from 5 times a day to 2 or a week? Okay. Next week, can you do it once a week? And then after, I think it was like 30 days, he put a system in place and hadn't done it and stopped it because he weaned himself, obviously, But it was like you said, make it simple. Like we already mentioned James Clear, right? But it's like, if you want to go to the gym, just put out your workout gear in front of you. So when you wake up, you just see your gear. Just set the environment to be able to put these positive habits in place or kick these habits that aren't serving us. Don't worry about cooking the food and all that. I can't speak to that because my wife cooks. Thank God. I married 100% Italian and she loves to cook and I suck at cooking. So start where you can. Start with something simple. Get in motion. Get momentum. And don't. The other thing is we all compare the comparison game with this stuff. Like people who, like you said, if they want to lose weight or get healthier, they might look at someone who's jacked and be like, how am I ever going to get there? Look at all this stuff.
I'm never going to look like that. I don't have their genetics. Like,
yeah. You're on step 50. If you're trying to get someone on step 1, don't compare yourself to Ian's step 50. Just get on your own step 1, you against you. That's one of the most damaging things, I think, for healthy habits, for sales especially. Leaderboard, where are you in leaderboard? Comparison, ooh, you're not as good. Like just you against you. Everyone, you're on your own timeline. Play your own game. It's something that's easier said than done, but it's so important, I think.
One of the things that I really encourage because I talk about gratitude, I obsess about gratitude. My firm belief is that discipline is really just borrowed motivation from your future self. That's it.
Love that. Yeah.
Like that's, and the way that I do that is I receive gratitude from my future self. So when I put my clothes out, I'm receiving gratitude from the version of me tomorrow morning who's thanking me for putting my clothes out. When I have a healthy meal, I'm thanking a past version of me for going to the dang grocery store and buying the meat in the first place. And that sounds silly, but like it forces me to slow down. It forces me to take some breaths that slows down my amygdala and calms my heart rate. Like there's all these beneficial practices of like, you should be grateful, which is, just more shame and guilt and
yeah, exactly.
Versus of like, no, I'm thanking my past self. And part of it of like, for me, again, the skill is I'm even thanking the intrusive thoughts. Right. And I'm not angry at that. I'm not continuing to be like, no, you got to stay positive. It's, hey, I know you're trying to keep me safe. You just kind of suck at it. Right. You're just not the best at it.
Yeah. That's a great frame on when those limiting beliefs or that voice or that chatter rears its head is thank you. You're protecting me. Thank you. And the key is though, the self-awareness of it. You have to be so present and so self-aware to notice when that trigger's coming in, to be able to catch it,
Yeah.
but
And
very,
celebrate noticing it as if it's the marathon. Celebrate noticing it as if it's the most important thing ever. And so, like, that's, I celebrate data collection. I celebrate, hey, anytime, even if you imbibed in the worst thing, like, if as long as you collected some more data about it, like your friend who's smoking the nicotine, like, hey, I'm not shaming you for smoking the nicotine. What I'm going to help celebrate is every time you collected data about all of these patterns surrounding the nicotine. Hey, what's the belief that you're reinforcing? What's the story that you had? What were the additional triggers? Like, what else is happening in your nerves? Like all that stuff. Like I teach the data collection. And so it's like, hey, as I'm going to encourage you to smoke as long as you're collecting the data the entire time. Like, what emotion am I unwilling to feel that I've now used this as my
mhm.
escape? All of that progresses people forward. Mike, brother, I'm so grateful for this conversation. But, brother, I appreciate you so much. I'm so excited for the people who are going to continue to come into your fold, into your circle, and be encouraged by your story, be able to help really transform their lives from the work that you've done.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it immensely. Thanks for having me on. We could go all day, obviously, but yeah, grateful for your friendship, and grateful to have me on, and hopefully people listen to this, and it's helpful for them. So thank
Yeah,
you, my friend.
appreciate you. Let's go run through some walls.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get after it.